What's going on, PMPbeta? This is Gunmonkey696 and I've got my second upload to this channel. This is actually going to be a TCGO match, which is mostly what I'm uploading on my channel now. I think my first upload here was Wi-Fi, but mostly I've been doing TCG, so if you like that, definitely come check me out. In this match, I'm using a Yanmega Magnezone deck, which uses Yanmega as the early game attacker, since its ability allows you to use any of its attacks for 0 energy as long as you have the same amount of cards in your hand as your opponent. So it's really good, it allows you to get attacked off really early, while Magnezone is used late game. His attack, I'm not exactly sure what his attack is, but the more energy you put, it does 50 damage for each energy that you put in the lost zone. So it's good, it's a really strong attack, but at the same time, you can't keep it going all through the match, because by the end of the match, you're not going to have any energy in play. And obviously, there's no way of getting energy out of the lost zone. So I think it works. It's a really nice combination. A little bit of an older deck, not seen as much nowadays, but it's still a really, really nice deck. My opponent, as you can see here, is using quite a new deck. It's one of the newer, more upcoming decks. It functions around using Dodrio to make it so that any Pokemon on his side of the field have true less retreat cost, which means that pretty much every single thing on his side of the field retreats are free, since none of them have a retreat cost higher than 2. Then uses Vileplume to stop me from playing any trainers. The cards like Catcher, Rare Candy, Pecom, all those sorts of cards I cannot play anymore, neither can he, but those sorts of decks tend to run a very low trainer count simply because there's no need to run them if you can't use them once you get your Vileplume up anyway. And then he also uses a Chandelure as the main attacker in the deck, and Chandelure can do, with its ability, 30 damage anywhere on the field, and then while using Dodrio, it can switch straight out for free, go into another Chandelure, put another 30 damage anywhere on the field, and then use its attack, Eerie Glow, to put 50 damage on the active Pokemon and both burn and confuse it. It's a really nice deck, probably one of my favorite decks. I'm obviously not using it this match, but probably my favorite deck at the moment. I've really liked using it. As you can see here, I pretty much built up my side of the field. He's getting a little bit of a slower start, which is the way his deck works. It's a very slow deck, whereas my deck is medium paced. It's kind of fast, but still has that big, can have that big offense in the late game thanks to Magnezone, which is why it's such a good deck. As you can see there, I was thinking of putting the energy down, but since, as I said before, Yanmega cannot attack unless both your hand sizes are matching, I was not allowed to do that, otherwise I would not have been able to attack that turn. And I definitely wanted to attack other than building up my Magnezone, since he would not have been much use to me except a little bit later in the match. As you can see there, I use Yanmega's attack, as he uses a Twins here, this is very important. That's why this deck is so good, because it's able to get behind in prize cards and then use Twins to search out any card from your deck, and which will definitely help with building up his bench, I think. Sorry, I'm a little bit lost for words here, but definitely help him to build up. So he can get a Rare Candy and a Chandelure. He can get a Dodrio. He can get like a Oddish and like a Rare Candy and a Vileplume, and just really will help him to build up his bench. So it's a really nice card. But getting back into what I was saying before, I decided to use Yanmega's attack, Linear Attack, which allows me to put 40 damage on any of his Pokemon, even the Pokemon on the bench. And since Oddish only has 40 HP, I decided to take Oddish out, because that will stop him, or at least set him back from getting up his Vileplume, which is really good for me, because I run quite a high amount of items in my deck, and I definitely don't want to be stopped from using those. So I actually, by just taking out that one Oddish, and he knew that at any point in the game I could pretty much take out any other Oddishes that he puts down, I actually stopped him from getting a Vileplume up at all this match, which is really good, and it's definitely one of the key points in fighting Vileplume decks, is making sure they can't get that Vileplume up. Usually, though, it's a smarter move to put down 2 Oddishes instead of just one by itself, because one can obviously be sniped like that. If he put 2 down, he'd have a very high chance of getting that Vileplume up. So a little bit of a newbie mistake. I don't think this guy was too used to playing TCG, but at the same time, he had a very, very advanced deck. As you can see there, he decides to switch out of his Cleffa and decides to start going on the offensive and goes out into his Chandelure. He's going to put 3 damage counters on my Yanmega just start to take it out because my Young Mega's just completely running train through his deck, and at this point I can take out anything on his bench. Young Mega's usually nice to use attacks like linear attack to get the cheap prize cards. Since then, Magnezone can come in with the really high-powered attacks and take out any of the really big Pokemon. So as long as you get a couple prize cards early, it's really easy for you to come through with Magnezone. But since I do play this Chandelure deck so often myself, I pretty much know how to what its weaknesses and how I can beat it. And I know that by taking out that Oddish was definitely a good start. And since I don't see any more Oddishes going down, I can now start to take out his Dodrio. And once, if I can stop him from getting a Dodrio up, it means he will not be able to switch between Chandelures, which will half the amount of damage he can do each turn to anything on my deck. So that 60 damage each turn anywhere on your bench. Sorry, I think I said deck. Anywhere on your bench can be really, really bad, and it really stops you from being able to get set up. And then your active Pokemon can both be burnt and confused. So once you get that like lock going on with, you got your Vileplume, so they can't switch out. You got, because they can't use cards like Switch and things. So if you get a high basic in there, a high retreat cost basic in there, and then they can just get into this lock, and it's really hard to get out of it. It's kind of scary here having my Magnezone, since Magnezone has such a high retreat cost, and Chandelure's pre-evolved form, Lampent, has an attack which acts like a Pokemon catcher. If you're not familiar with that card, it means you can drag up any Pokemon on the bench into the active position. So if I don't have a lot of energy on my Magnezone and he uses that attack to drag up my Magnezone's going to be left in the active position, and which means that Chandelure will be able to snipe my bench, which is usually the way I like to run this deck. Where if a card like Terrakion goes down, I can use Lampent to drag up Terrakion, and with that gigantic retreat cost, no way he's going to be able to get it back out fast. And then if Vileplume's up, he can't play cards like Switch, and then I can use a Chandelure to just attack his bench. So it works out really nice. I really, really enjoy this deck, but as I said before, since I do play it myself, I know its weaknesses, and I think that's really going to help me with beating it here. So as you can see, I do use Magnezone's ability. It's called Magnetic Draw. It allows me to draw cards until my hand size is 6. It's a really nice card. It means I don't have to run too many draw supporters in this deck, since if I've got a low hand count, I can use Magnezone to get all the way back up to 6. And it also helps sometimes with matching cards. If you got Yanmega like it did then, would not have been able to match his hand size, but I can use a Magnezone to draw to 6, put a card down, and then I have 5, meaning that I now match his hand. As you can see, he's pretty much abandoned any hopes of getting his Vileplume going. He just discarded his Oddish with that Sage's training, and so it means that I don't need to be too wary of that Oddish, and I can now move my attention to making sure that I take out those Dodrios as they pop up. Dodrio is a little bit harder to take care of than Oddish, since Oddish has 40 HP. I can 1-hit KO with linear attack. Dodrio, on the other hand, has 50 HP. That 10 HP means it's going to take 2 linear attacks to take it out. And I don't run any plus powers in this deck, so it gets a little bit tricky. As you can see, he did just get a Lampent up. So as I said before, Lampent does act as a catcher and will allow him to drag out my cards. So it's a little bit scary, but once you get that Chandelure going, I'm probably a little bit less scared of that Chandelure, since at this moment he doesn't have that Dodrio going, so he can't put that 60 damage anywhere he wants. He's going to decide to start taking out my Magnezone here, but maybe I think he might decide that's not a good idea, and it's going to start to take out my Yanmega. Yes, he decides that's not what he wants to do, and actually does want to start to target my Yanmega, because it's pretty obvious I'm going to send that Yanmega in later. At this point, maybe I should have taken that Cleffa out off the bench, but most of the time in these sorts of games, you don't really want to take the cheap prize cards, because they just sit there. As long as I have a Yanmega going, there's no real point to take those cheap prize cards until the end of the game. I can just let them sit there, and whenever I need to take a prize card, I can just take him now once his offensive momentum is pretty much ruined. So I can just make sure I stay on the offensive and take out those really dangerous cards like Chandelure, and those cards that get annoying and can stop me from playing the game I want to, or him playing the game he wants to, like Dodrio and Vileplume. So now I am out here with my Yanmega, and I decided to play the Copycat. I do run, I think, a couple Judges and a few Copycats in this deck. Judge, I think I put 4 cards into my deck and put all my cards, into my deck, draw 4. He puts all his cards into his deck, draws 4, which means that obviously we have matching hand sizes now, which does really help Yanmega to make it a lot easier for me to match hand sizes, and Copycat means I draw the amount of cards that are in his hand. So it can really make it really easy for me to match his hand size by using things like that. But at the same time, N is a really good card in this deck because late game, if we both have a very small amount of prize cards, I can use N, which if you don't know what that does, you put all your cards in your deck and draw the amount of cards you have prizes. So I draw, if say we both have 2 prizes left, and as you see N here actually. And also I just wanted to say that then you saw that I did have my Yanmega in my hand, and I would have played that down next turn, so it was really annoying that he managed to get that N off, and I think in the next couple of minutes he got another really important N, which is really starting to cripple me. I think he just got really lucky with them. I don't think he was psychic, possibly. Maybe he was psychic and knew exactly when to play those Ns, but pretty sure he wasn't psychic. I think it's a pretty safe guess. But back to what I was saying with N, if we both have a couple prize cards, then I can use N, he draws 2 cards, I draw 2 cards, and then I can use Magnetic Draw to draw another 4 cards. I mean, I have 6, and now he has 2 cards, and if those aren't 2 cards that he likes, or maybe a draw supporter like a Professor Oak's New Theory, then he's pretty much screwed. I do decide that now I really need this switch in my hand, or maybe, okay, sorry, this is the point here where I do actually go for the Pokemon Communication. The Pokemon Communication, I was pretty much relying on luck here because I really wanted to draw into a Pokemon. It did not matter which Pokemon I drew into because I really wanted to get my Yanmega going. So I had a pretty high chance of drawing into a Pokemon there. It probably was not the best play for me to do that, but I was really hoping that I drew into a Yanmega. Not a Yanmega, sorry, just a Pokemon in general, which would have meant that I could use PCOM to get myself a Yanmega. But at this point, as you can see there, I did not get lucky, and I'm going to now decide that I want to go on the offensive with Magnezone. Probably not, oh sorry, actually I decided to go into Clef. I thought I did. Now here, I do not want to go on the offensive just yet, because 4 prize cards is a little bit much to take with the Magnezone, and Chandelure has a very high HP stat of 130, which means just to take out those 2 Chandelures, I need to discard 6 6 of my energy cards, which is a very high amount because I do not run too many in this deck, since Yanmega does not require any at all. So now I am going to be able to play Cleffa, and a Cleffa allows me to use its attack Eek, which means I just draw 6 cards. I put all my cards back in the deck and draw another 6. And now, as you can see here, I get a very nice hand, which will allow me to get my Yanmega going next turn. However, this is the turn that I think I'm getting a little bit ahead of the narration, but I don't think he's doing too much important here. He's just trying to get another Dodria going. This is the turn where he does play another N, which means that, as I was saying, I'm just getting butt fucked by N at the moment. It's really annoying. I've pretty much had the game. Well, I'm not going to say I had the game there, but I had a very nice hand. Was really happy with that, and after that, I just draw absolutely nothing with this hand. I obviously can use Magnetic Draw. Hopefully get an alright hand after it, but just really annoying for me since I had 2 pretty decent hands and he screwed me over twice. So now he's going to be able to go out into his Chandelure. I think he's out into Chandelure with the energy on it, which is going to mean that now that my Cleffa is asleep, I cannot be damaged by attacks, but since Curse Shadow is an ability, not an attack, it does let him hit my Cleffa, and it's going to allow him to take out my Cleffa. Probably not the best play. At this point in the game, he starts going for those cheap prize cards, which is not what you want to do. That's not what I was doing. And you definitely want to stay on the aggressive and taking out those cards which I really need, which were my Magnezone. And honestly, he should have started to take out that Yanma, because if I could not get a Yanmega going this turn, that pretty much would have been the match. And as you can see, I don't think I do get a Yanmega going this turn. So if he'd taken out my Yanmega and then taken out my Yanmega in those 2 turns, the next 2 turns that were coming up, almost would have been the match straight up. But I am able to play my Pokemon Collector and get another Cleffa. And at this point, I think is the time when I start to go on the offensive with Magnezone, possibly. I'm not 100% sure, sorry. Okay, so I decided to play the Pokemon Collector. Just going to get a Pachirisu. Pachirisu's ability allows me, when I play it from my hand to the bench, I can attach 2 lightning energy cards to it, which is going to mean that I did have enough energy to attack before, but I did not have enough energy to attack where I was comfortable, because I did not want my Magnezone sitting in there with no energy on it. So this is going to mean that I can now knock out that Chandelure, and I've still got quite a decent amount of energy on Magnezone, enough to actually knock out the next Chandelure. At the same time, then I'm also stuck at that. That's one of the issues with playing Magnezone is if you discard all the energy on that Magnezone in the active position, he just has to sit there from now on, which is really dangerous against things like this sort of deck, against a Chandelure deck, because if Magnezone is just sitting out there, which means that he can bring in his Chandelures and start my bench off, well, there's nothing I can do, so a little bit scary for me at the moment, but I do have that Twins in my hand, and while, like I said just before, he's going to make a very silly play going for those cheap prize cards, which I can't stress enough how silly it is to get those cheap prize cards. You really don't want to do that. He should have here started to take out that Yanma. That Yanma would have been gone, and as you'll see in the end, that Yanma does come into play, and it's going to allow me to. Otherwise, I think I probably would have lost if he decided to kill off this Yanma. But as you can see, he decides he's going to kill off my Cleffa, I do believe. And because I have that Twins, I think I told you before what Twins does. If I have less prize cards, which after he killed off Cleffa, I will, means that I can draw any 2 cards I want, which is going to be a gigantic help to me. It's going to mean that I pretty much get anything I want. I can get my Yanmega going, which I'm so glad I managed to keep that Yanma alive throughout all this, and he just took those cheap prize cards. He's still got a Clever sitting on the bench, which I can take whenever I want with Yanmega. I don't even think I end up taking it simply because it's not a threat to me. And if I can take out those cards that threaten me, that's going to be much more important because it means that there's nothing he can do. It completely cripples his game plan, and I can take those. Then I can finish the match off. He's gonna switch out from Chandelure because he does not want to stay in with his Chandelure here because that does mean that I can do whatever I want and I can pretty much kill it off. And once that Chandelure with the energy is gone, means that I pretty much win the match. He's going to take out, decide to use Lampin's ability to bring out my Yanma. I'm not sure if he didn't understand how Yanma works. Yanma's ability allows me to retreat for free, as long as Yanma doesn't have any energy on him, and I obviously never put any energy on Yanma, seeing as Yanmega doesn't require any energy to attack, and I don't even run any grass energies in this deck. So I'm going to decide to play my Twins, which is why it was a misplay for him to kill off that Cleffa, because I can now use Twins, which will allow me to get a Yanma, and I almost got a Catcher, but I decided it's probably a better play to get myself a Junk Arm, because I do have 2 cards in my hand, which I don't want, being both my rare candies. I've got absolutely no need for them. I know that I will not use them this match. So I can keep my Catcher in my deck and get it whenever I want, and then I can play that Junk Arm out both those rare candies to get a Catcher. I think I'm being a little bit slow here. I'm going to decide I also want to play Magnetic Draw. It's probably just a good play, just always playing that ability. Actually, I think it's better. This is a better play here. I'm going to Junk Arm out both those rare candies to get myself a Catcher, which will allow me to then I can Magnetic Draw for even more cards, getting even more cards into my hand. And once I do have that, oh sorry, well, I completely lost. I decided to get a switch. I'm sorry, that's why I got the Junk Arm, because I do want to switch. Because at the moment, I know that once I put my Magnezone in the active position, it's going to be very hard for me to get Magnezone back out, because I can't retreat him by using energy. Yeah, pretty much the only way I'm going to be able to retreat my Magnezone is by using a switch, because it requires 3 energy to retreat, and I definitely don't want to put those in my discard pile at the moment, so I can burn off both the energies that are attached to my Magneton on the bench. And now if he does this, depending on what he decides to go into here, is pretty much going to mean that I'm in a very, very good position at the moment, to say the least. He can go out into his Chandelure here, which has the energy on him, and if he decides he's going to attack with that Chandelure, he'll obviously have to leave that Chandelure in the active position at the start of the next turn, which will mean that I can come in with my Yanmega and kill it off, and once that Chandelure with the energy is gone, that's pretty much his last hope of winning this match. Probably a misplay for him to go out into that Litwick. He definitely should have gone out into Chandelure first, since pretty much all his pokes have a free retreat cost at the moment. Could have gone out into Chandelure, oh sorry, that's even a better play for him maybe. Just go into Chandelure, he can put those 3 damage counters anywhere on my bench, and then he can go out into the other Chandelure and put more damage counters. But I think he's actually going to decide he wants to leave that Chandelure in the active position, because that Chandelure with the damage counters on it also has the energy on it, and if I'm able to knock it out like I just said, it's going to be in a very, very tough position. But Unfortunately for him, he doesn't know that I do have that catcher in my hand. Usually, as you saw, you'd be playing this deck with a Vileplume up, so I would not be able to catcher up that Chandelure. But unfortunately for him, I do have that catcher in my hand, which means I will be able to take up that Chandelure, which he does not want in the active position, and that will allow me to then switch out into my Yanmega, and I can kill it off for no cost, and then the turn after. So then here I draw into a switch, meaning that whole junk arm process was pretty much useless. But it's always good to have the cards you want, obviously. So I'm going to put that energy on my Magneton because there's no point putting all my energy in one Pokemon, which I think I can burn it off from any location. And then I'm going to be able to now, I'm really thinking about my choices here because as you can see this is a really close match. We're both at 2 prize cards, so definitely want to think about what my choices are. I did decide, as I said, to play that switch. I can then capture out that Chandelure, and then I'm going to be able to, I think somehow, I'm not sure how, I think maybe I'll put down both my basics, or maybe I'll play the Judge, I'm not sure. I could either, there's 2 plays here, I could either put down my Yanma and my Magnemite on the bench, but would mean that it'd make it a little bit easier for him to just take those cheap prizes. So I decided it's best to play to use the Judge to will allow us to match hands, and then I can kill off that Chandelure with all the energy on it, and then that's pretty much his last hope, unless he can get enough energy on one of this Chandelure, which I don't think these decks don't run too many psychic energy. I run quite a high count in my own deck because I really like Chandelure's attack. I think it's very underrated, but I don't think his deck runs too many psychic energies. It's going to make it very hard for him to get this Chandelure built up to a point where he can attack with his attack Eerie Glow, which means he's going to, now after he plays the Twins, he's pretty much just stalling for time, seeing if there's anything in his deck which will help him. But I don't think there's too much in his deck which would help him. If he did try to get that Vileplume up, it definitely would have made this match a lot closer, and it would have made it it just would have made it much more difficult for me, because as you can see, I couldn't play the switch, I couldn't play the catcher, I couldn't have P-commed into the things I needed. Would have just made a much harder time for him, but he also would not have been able to rare candy into his own Chandelure, so it goes both ways. But as you can see, he's just trying to stall here, seeing what he can do. I think at the end of this turn, he's going to decide to take that cheap prize in Pachirisu, knowing that the match is over. There's almost nothing he can do at this point, because as long as I can match his card at the end of this turn, which obviously I can, as you can see I have that Judge in my hand, as long as I can match his cards at the end of my turn, I can kill off that Cleffa with the linear attack. But I'm pretty sure I decided to be a dick after this, and I want to try and build up my other Magnezone with that P-com and get as much energy into play as I can, so then I can Lost Burn it all off, because I'm just a dick like that. And it's gonna now end his turn, since obviously he doesn't end his turn automatically by attacking, since it doesn't count as an attack. So I'm gonna switch out. I'm gonna decide to start P-comming my things away, and he's just gonna concede here, knowing that the match is over, and he's not gonna let me waste his time by being a cock. I thought it was a really good match. I really enjoyed it. It was a very narrow match, and there was a couple misplays he made, which definitely made it much easier for me to win. But at the same time, I got pretty unlucky with those ends, and I think I had a lot of fun playing this match. And we're both using a very different decks. Mine, as I said before, a little bit of an older deck. His quite a new and upcoming deck. I hope you enjoyed the narration. If you did, leave a like on this video. Definitely come check out my own channel. I upload, like I said, I'm repeating myself a lot here, but like I said, I upload a lot of TCGO. Mostly that. I do upload a couple Wi-Fi, maybe like one every couple weeks, but usually it's TCGO. It's what I've been playing mostly now, and I've really been enjoying it. So, hope you enjoyed the narration, and have a good day. See ya.